Hi everyone and welcome to Macquarie's Postgraduate Careers in Focus. I'm Chelsea and I'm a current student at Macquarie University, and today we'll focus on the diverse range of careers in engineering that you can move into with a Master of Engineering Professional or a Master of Engineering Management from Macquarie University. Before we start, I'd like to acknowledge that this webinar is taking place on Wallumattagal land of the Darug Nation and pay my respects to all elders past, present and emerging, as well as extend my respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander guests in our audience today. As we allow some time for attendees to join us online, please note that this session is being recorded and it will be shared with you after the event, as well as if you have any questions throughout this session, please put them in our Q&A box. We'll answer your questions during a live Q&A session later. Now tonight we have a very insightful session planned for you. We'll start off with an interview exploring the career outcomes that our previously mentioned postgraduate courses can lead to with our Associate Professor Viken Kortian. We'll then look at how to apply to either degree, key applications and class dates, followed by the live audience Q&A session with our Associate Professor Viken Kortian. Ask us anything by typing your question in our Q&A box. Now let's get started. So welcome Associate Professor Viken Kortian. It's lovely to have you join us here tonight.
Thank you, Chelsea. It's a pleasure to be here.
That's great. Now we'll start with our first question. So what practical skills will I develop that are directly applicable to roles in engineering project management, supply chain management, or even business leadership?
Well, there's quite a few actually, and I don't know if we've got enough time to cover them all. But in project management, we run a number of units where we teach or we apply project management skills, especially when it comes to our capstone project, as well as some of our consulting projects as well. In supply chain, we cover units or topics such as procurement, and in procurement we actually go through and we teach students how to write requests for tenders, how to assess them, how to select, and how to manage suppliers. In the area of business leadership, there are pretty much a lot of the units that we talk about. We focus in on a lot of the what we call softer skills or the human skills, the employability skills, and around leadership and around how to lead and manage teams. So all of them, allows students to participate in group activities, group projects, and then apply these skills that they've learnt during the lectures. One unit where we have a very popular response is around entrepreneurship, and in entrepreneurship we go through how a potential graduate can either start up a new business or working in a large multinational organization. They can develop new products and commercialize these as part of a large organizational strategy. So quite a wide range of possibilities and applications in terms of the areas that you just mentioned.
Awesome. That sounds really great. And I think the learning and the practical learning, more importantly, definitely starts from day one there, which sounds awesome. Now, moving on to our second question. Does this program offer any certifications that are recognised in the engineering management industry?
Yes, actually, we only very recently the university approved a second certification. Well, students who are completing a master's in engineering management will not only just get that master's degree, but what they also will get is a Lean Six Sigma Green Belt. If they complete two subjects, which are core or foundation subjects, such as Eng 8000, as well as Eng 8105, which is operations and quality management. Students who complete those two units actually also get a Lean Six Sigma certification. Now, any potential students interested in doing engineering management will know that Lean Six Sigma certifications are very are highly sought after. And so, they walk away gaining very practical experience in taking a business problem and applying their consulting skills, their process improvement skills, and make recommendations to a panel of process improvement experts.
Awesome. That sounds great. Thank you for answering that question. Now, moving on to our next question, I think it is quite, I would say, a popular question in regards to when you're studying, it's all well and good to gain a course and to gain qualifications, but the next big thing would be job opportunities. So for our next question, are there any partnerships with engineering firms or management consultancies that provide job opportunities for our graduates?
Yeah, so one of the other hats that I wear in the School of Engineering is I'm the Director of Industry and Corporate Engagement. And my career, most of my career, in fact, 35 out of the 40 years that I've been working, I've been actually working in industry. So I have a lot of contacts in both the engineering profession as well as in the management consulting profession. I was for a number of years, I was a director at PricewaterhouseCoopers, as well as at Unisys, starting up a consulting firm. And through my connections, we have lots of opportunities to fill in the pipeline of potential opportunities. Now, linked in with that, our school has its disciplines. So the key disciplines are civil, mechanical, electrical, electronic, and mechatronic. These disciplines have their own industry advisory groups, and we also have a school advisory group. And the primary purpose of all of these advisory groups is to assist us in finding potential internship opportunities as well as graduate opportunities. And so I'm currently working with the university administration to document what we currently do, so it becomes available for the students. But more importantly, utilizing some of our geographic advantages. One namely being in the Ryde area industrial hub, the Macquarie Park industrial district, really utilizing our networks within the various companies that work or have established their facilities here in Ryde, and basically making sure that our pipeline is full so that any potential student we're looking for internships or graduate opportunities have the best chance in finding one.
Great. Thank you so much for that answer. And that's really good that you mentioned internships as well as graduate roles, to know that, again, they'll be definitely getting that practical experience within their degree, as well as having promises for graduate roles as well after their degree. So that's really great to hear. Now, for our next question, how active is the alumni network and how can it help current students with their career goals?
So we've been with our new Dean of Engineering, Professor Aman O. He is very keen to reinvigorate the alumni. And last year, we started to work with our alumni. And most recently, we had a Women's in Engineering forum, and one of our alumni was actually one of the panelists. She graduated from mechatronics and is currently working with one of the railway companies. And so she's on our alumni committee. And so the intent is to further grow our network with our alumni. So we work with our engagement group to make sure that we contact them and we invite them to our open days so that current students can mix with our alumni and hopefully network and find potential opportunities through those means as well. In finding work after graduation, you really need to spread your net very, very wide, and alumni is just one of them. But as I said, some of the other areas that we're looking at is what we try to do to bring our alumni and help potential graduates.
Great. That's awesome. Yeah, and I can definitely say that we pride ourselves in our alumni network here across all our degrees. So that's really great to hear as well that that happens within our engineering degrees too. Now, circling back to career paths, like we discussed briefly, that there are a range of different career paths that potential graduates could go for. But what would you say are the most common career paths for graduates of these particular programs we're talking about tonight in engineering management?
Well, one of the primary areas, many of our students who've graduated are students who've done an engineering degree and have worked for a few years, and so they're looking at how they can further their career. Now, there are one or two options a graduate engineer can take in order to further their career. They could do an MBA, or they can do a Master's of Engineering Management. Now, an MBA is very general. And one of the main reasons why Macquarie University decided to establish the Master of Engineering Management is to allow potential students the depth of education and knowledge that an MBA doesn't give. And so that's why we focus in on topics such as quality, supply chain, consulting, and so. There are a number of opportunities that a graduate can take. One is they can take a step up and take on a team leader or a department leader role, or they can actually branch out and start off their own engineering company. If you go in and have a look at the number of engineering organizations or people who run their own engineering firms, there's a very large number of them. And so, we give graduates a range, a choice that they can take in terms of their career paths. They can move up within an organization, take on engineering managers roles, or even more senior roles, or they can essentially look at starting up their own engineering consulting firms and broaden their business and grow from there. So it could be in research and development. It could be in doing large, complex, government projects, infrastructure projects that smaller organizations or manufacturing companies just don't have. So it really is that stepping stone that allows them to go on into more senior and more higher paying roles. I think if you look at the top 10 paying jobs in Australia, engineering management is one of them. And so this is a great opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you so much for giving us that extensive answer. I think that gives us or gives our audience a lot to think about, knowing that there are a whole range of different career paths that they could take, but knowing that the graduate role or the jobs that they get into right after uni may not be the only job that they have. They could definitely move around. They can move up in certain companies, or even, like you said, start their own company. So I think that's really good and definitely gives us a lot to think about. Now, moving on to our next question, you briefly did touch on internships and placements, but could you potentially get into a little bit more detail about what the opportunities may look like for internships or placements with the companies specializing in engineering management?
Yeah, so one of the areas that we could that we encourage students to try to apply for, and the School of Engineering follows the internship and graduate positioning processes that Macquarie University has. So what we try to do is as we said, find any opportunities that are specific for engineering and engineering management. Now, one of the examples of internships that I've supervised is around big data analytics. So while and big data analytics is very, very broad. So a little early on, when I mentioned a Lean Six Sigma Green Belt, you're essentially building predictive models to solve a problem and produce products or services that are essentially flawless. So, one of the areas where you can gain potential internships is doing process improvement projects, Lean Six Sigma projects. So once you've completed those 2 units, you can actually go out and apply what you've learned in the real world. There are other internship opportunities, whether they could be in the civil area, looking at doing facade engineering. I know a couple of students have managed to find internships working for large construction companies such as Meriton, looking specifically at facade engineering. And so there you're bringing in your more of your project management skills, as opposed to doing the detailed engineering calculations and specifying, and structure. So when you do your engineering management, you're focusing more on a leadership position. And so they're the types of internships that students can potentially apply for. As we said, we have a group who work specifically around identifying these opportunities. And so I work with them in my role as Director of Industry and Corporate Engagement to make sure that A, these opportunities are captured, and B, that our students are aware of it and can apply for them and go for them. So our job is to prepare the students the best that we can. They go and get in, hopefully they succeed and get those opportunities.
Awesome. That is great to hear. Thank you so much for that answer. Now, moving on to our last question for this interview section of our night. What would be the opportunities out there for students to engage in research and innovation projects that could potentially enhance their career prospects?
Good question, and one that I think our industry partners are very keen to look into. So if you've done a engineering degree, and if you've also done a master's in engineering management or master's in engineering professional, one of the opportunities that you can do in terms of doing research or innovation is doing an MRes, a master's in research. And so here, this is an example of a win-win situation, a win for the university in terms of students who are looking to further their careers or getting more specialized education, and it's a win for the companies because what they're getting is a problem being solved by a highly motivated student who's looking at furthering their degree. So there are a number of MRes opportunities, Masters in Research, and that's your stepping stone if you are looking to further your education and move into even a PhD and move into academia or research. MRes is that first step. And so again, one of the other key roles is in terms of industry and corporate engagement is working with our industry partners to identify these opportunities and hopefully present them to students who are interested in doing further innovation and research.
Awesome. Thank you so much for those answers. I definitely hope that our audience have gotten a few notes and definitely gotten some insightful answers from our Associate Professor Vic. So we do appreciate and thank you for your time. Now we will be briefly going through some more course details and application deadlines for the Master of Engineering Management, as well as the engineering, as well as the Master of Engineering Professional. So just a brief course summary on some points that will be touched in both of these courses. Students will learn to integrate interdisciplinary knowledge from engineering, business and management to create innovative business solutions. As well as students will undertake a combination of engineering and business units to maximize your skills and knowledge and career prospects as well. Students that are enrolled into these courses will also be mentored by industry professionals in Australia's largest innovation district or by leading academics in our own engineering precinct. Now, some details to remember when applying for our courses. You'll need to ensure that you have proof of Australian or New Zealand citizenship or Australian permanent residency, including a proof of name change if that applies to you. as well as evidence of previous academic qualifications and transcripts. And if any of those qualifications or transcripts aren't in English, we strongly advise that you get them translated into English before submitting your application. As well as evidence of English proficiency, again, where that's applicable to you, and uploading your current resume and workplace reference letter. Regarding our next available intakes, for both of our courses, we do have 2 intakes throughout the year. So our next available intake would be Session 1, 2025. Application deadline is the 10th of February, 2025. So you still have time to get your application in to begin Session 1 next year. And that session commences the 24th of February, 2025. Now, in regards to our other intake for the year, that'll be the second half of the year, and that commences the 28th of July, 2025. Again, applications, the deadline for the applications closed the 7th of July, so you still have an extensive amount of time to put your application in for Session 2 next year. Now, regarding the career outcomes and opportunities from our degrees, just like we learned in our interview session with our Associate Professor, there is a wide range, and some of these may include construction and building sector, working in consulting firms, defense agencies, food and chemical companies, government agencies and departments, manufacturing companies, marine organizations, mining companies, oil and gas companies, or even regulatory authorities. Now, what these positions may look like in those certain workplaces could either be a chief operating officer, consulting, contract manager, executive manager, project manager, and vendor manager. Now, moving on to our next session for the night would be our live Q&A. So like I mentioned before, we have opened up the Q&A session for our audience, and I can see that they have been sending through some questions. So I'll just start shooting them your way. Associate Professor Vic, if you're all good with that. So our first question would be, what advice would you give to future postgraduate students studying this course at Macquarie University?
What advice would I would give them? I mean, the first advice is I'd take whatever opportunity that comes to me just to get your foot in the door and get the experience. I think, I've gone through this same path. I did my chemical engineering degree and then did my MBA and I did my MRes and I did my PhD. And it's been an absolutely a wonderful career. And for me, the thing that what I really appreciated is the value that an engineering degree gives in business. An engineering degree gives you that process or that ability to think and solve problems. Now, when you combine that with business needs, you have a very attractive employee. And so when you've completed a Master's of Engineering Management, coupled with your technical background, you become a person that is highly sought after. So take that first opportunity and get as much experience as you possibly can. I even, left Australia and worked at our corporate headquarters in Michigan in the United States. So it also, opens up opportunities, not just in terms of employment here in Australia, but elsewhere. So that would be my number one advice. Take any opportunity you can and learn. I'm still learning.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Now, following our next question, it is a little bit more practical on what it may look like to study here at Macquarie. But would you say that academic staff here at our university are easy to contact and work with and learn alongside whilst completing one of these courses?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think we have, an excellent academic staff, people who've got, as I said, not just academic background, but some practical background. But our door is open. anytime. In fact, I say to my students, if you have any questions, you can email me or call me. I have personally assisted a number of students, especially as it relates to looking at their CVs, looking at their LinkedIn profiles, advising them, guiding them in terms of where they should go and what opportunities they should take. But more importantly, in terms of making sure they pass, it's very, very simple. You do the work, you will succeed. Our units, our subjects are not there to be, it's not to trip you or, try to get you to fail. It really is there to allow you to pass. And more importantly, students leaving or graduating get real practical experience, not theory, but very practical experience. So when we talk about quality and reliability, we're teaching them, a process around solving business problems. When we teach them supply chain, they learn how to write an RFP. We use templates and examples. We use sessional academics who work in the industry. And so we combine theory with practice to give you what I believe is world-class education and experience.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that answer. And it actually answers the next question, which was, what are the practical skills we learned in these courses? But I think you've definitely nailed that one as well in that answer, to say that it is practical from day dot, which is really good right up until you graduate as well. Now, our next question, a little bit more personal in regards to your specialization in engineering. But what would you say is a particular area of your specialization that you teach? What would you find the most interesting about it? And what made you want to become an academic in that particular area as well?
Very good questions. So for me, my specialization is around organizational transformation and business excellence. And, over 25 years ago, I got involved in this. I worked at a large US chemical company called Dow Corning. And we were infamous because we made medical products, silicone breast implants. And in 1995, we filed for Chapter 11. And so I was involved intimately in the transformation. We got out of Chapter 11 in 2004, and that's when I left, because my next job was going to be, essentially, running a major plant in Shanghai in China. But through that experience and working with one of the large, big four consulting firms, PwC, I was so impressed with what PwC had done in business transformation that I wanted to join that company, and that's what I did. And I joined PwC in Australia. And that's when I learned more around consulting and around business excellence and business transformation. And so I've held various very senior executive positions. After PwC, I was the director of transformation for Unisys. And then at Unisys, I had started up a consulting division there. And in 2009, I left Unisys and ran my own personal consulting firm. But when I was in Unisys, one of the questions I asked myself was, what legacy am I going to leave after working 30, 35 years? What legacy would I leave? And that's when I decided, doing a bit of research in my interested field, which is around business excellence and transformation. And so that's what I did. And I'd started being an adjunct way back in 2005 when I was at Unisys. I enjoyed adult teaching, students or adult education. And I was an adjunct at a number of business schools. And when I completed my PhD, there was opportunities here at Macquarie. I'd done my MBA at Macquarie. I did my MRes here at Macquarie, and I did my PhD at Macquarie. And now I'm teaching at Macquarie. So when you love the place, it's very, very difficult to leave.
Yes, I've actually heard that saying a lot that once you come to Macquarie, it is very difficult to leave. And sometimes you don't, you just stay here. But that's really great. Thank you so much for those answers. And I think, just to hear the extensive experience that you've had and the range of experience that you've had as well in the careers that you've had previously, I think it'd be great to be able to actually learn as well and sit under your teachings throughout the courses as well. So I think that's also a great thing to take out of what you've or how you've been answering your questions so far tonight. Now,
I think I'm an academic, not an academic.
I agree. Okay, no worries. Now, our next question, again, a little bit more practical in regards to the student experience here. But what is the specific support that students have in regards to assessments and exams?
Yeah, so in terms of support, that's where we have our SGTAs, the small group teaching activities. Pretty much all the units that I've written, and I've written about 5 of the 10 units that we teach in the Master of Engineering Management. We have lectures and we have SGTAs, and so we reinforce the key topics or the key learnings during the SGTAs, and really of all the units that I have, I only have one unit where we actually sit for an exam. All the others are just assessments. So, and there are major assessments. So we have midterm assessments and final assessments, and these are reports. So let me give you one example. In entrepreneurship, now there's no real exam, in terms of, or how do you assess someone who can they start up a company? So what we do is we get them to come up with an idea, and I actually, through my networks, I bring in potential investors, and the final report is a Shark Tank. And so I have 3 potential investors and students who come up with ideas, and they have to fully develop these ideas, and they have to present in front of the sharks. And so it's an excellent experience. They get real feedback. And in fact, we've had a number of students who've taken their ideas and are looking at becoming entrepreneurs and starting their businesses with the aid of some of these sharks. So while assessments are important, there's only one of my units where we have final exams, but the reports are the key thing, and presentation skills. So with the advent of AI as well, one of the biggest challenges in universities now is how do we separate AI from a student's work. Well, in our units, you've got to stand up and talk. So all the key assessments require either an individual or a group presentation, and we'll learn, as assessors, we'll learn very, very quickly if the student has truly developed these things or have learned things through their presentations or not. So there's plenty of support. We have sessionals who are from industry, and so that, coupled with any other support they need, they can send emails or ask questions, but they have as much support as needed to make sure that they pass, and the pass rates are very, very good.
That's good. That's definitely good to hear. Now, just wrapping up with our last question, we obviously would have prospective students coming from all backgrounds, especially with working. So for maybe some of our students who are working full-time currently and also considering potentially doing one of our masters that we've been discussing today, do you reckon it is possible to be working full-time while studying, and what may that look like?
Yes, we've had a number of students who've done their Masters of Engineering Management and work full-time. Now, one of the things that we do ask is attendance of lectures is not compulsory. In fact, a number of our lectures are recorded. So the content is there, the slides are there. What we do ask is students to attend their SGTAs. SGTAs are compulsory. And so what we're really asking for is an hour. Okay, most SGTAs in Master of Engineering Management is an hour. So we've found students, who talk to their, work managers who are doing their, Masters of Engineering Management. They do get time off, and it is quite easily done for students to go and work full time as well as complete the degree. So yes, students do that, and it can be done. It's all about you putting the time in. I say this to the students every semester when we start. If you put in the effort, you put in the time, you will succeed and you'll get a lot out of it. And so, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for being in the hot seat on a Tuesday night. We definitely really appreciate all your insightful answers that you've had for us. But with that last question, we've now come to the end of our webinar. I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening, and just a reminder to submit your application if you'd like to be considered for the February intake for next year. And we'll also send an email with the recording of this session in the next week or so. But for now, we look forward to welcoming you to Macquarie University very soon, and take care, everyone.